incredibly, it's still the international break, and so for me as a reporter, that means no press conferences to attend, no matches to report on, but there are still plenty of talking points around Liverpool, and one of the big dominant ones during this period really has been the links between Liverpool and Bournemouth defender Milos Kerkez. Now, I don't ever want to be one of those channels that gets into talking about speculation or throws fuel on the fire in terms of those transfer rumours that we see so many of. And so I want to start this video really by giving you what I know about this. Now, I did check this name out with a few sources and to see whether there was any truth in that. And I have to say, didn't really get huge encouragement that anything is close for Liverpool, that they are about to make an offer to Bournemouth, or that they are preparing a bid, despite so many reports coming out suggesting that is the case. So kind of pouring cold water on the idea that he is a definite target for January, and so I'd be kind of surprised really if that is the case. And I have to say, it does kind of make sense to me really at the moment when you look at what Liverpool have got. I do think that left back is going to be a need in the next sort of window, maybe not the January window, but the next summer window. When you look at the ages of Andy Robertson and Kostas Tsimikas and their kind of performances, it's clear, I think, that improvement could be sought there. Who's someone who is just about to enter the peak years, who's a younger option, maybe kind of in the profile of an Andy Robertson when he did join the club. I do think it's something they need to address, but we know that Liverpool don't necessarily like to stockpile players, and so the idea that they're going to add someone in that left back position without selling a Robertson or Tsimikas, which we don't necessarily expect will happen, I find that hard to see. And you have to say, between them, Tsimikas and Robertson, I think Robertson has had a small dip this season, but roared back against Aston Villa and showed the value of him just getting the odd rest. I think Kostas Tsimikas has been really good, so I don't think there's been kind of disastrous performances in that left-back position, or it's something there that Liverpool will look at and think we desperately need to address this in January. I think it is something that could wait till the summer. I think if there was one transfer priority for Liverpool in the January window, and something they may look to do, it's maybe to go back into midfield and try and sort something there. We know it's something they tried to do in the summer, so there's clearly that want there, and I just think that would be much higher priority really than to go in and sign a left back at this moment. But with all that said, as I'm saying there, I do think that left back is going to become a priority for Liverpool, not necessarily in this January window, but I do think for the following summer, and I do think this is an area that Liverpool will have to look at. And when you look at Kerkez on the kind of basic stats around him and basically his profile really, you see someone who's young but still got plenty of experience playing in a few different leagues. He's playing very well in the Premier League, which is the top European league, and really standing out there. And of course, he was signed for Bournemouth by Richard Hughes, who is now Liverpool's sporting director. So it makes you think, there's maybe some truth there that Liverpool are at the very least monitoring this player and keeping an eye on him. But I suppose the big question is, that the one that Liverpool will have to answer, not necessarily in January, but in the summer, if he were to be a target, is he an improvement on what we've got? And that's what I want to look at in this video really, is could Kerkez be someone who puts himself in the frame as a long-term Robertson successor? And is he doing that at the moment? And that's where he's up to. Now, I'm going to start by looking at the statistics behind it, and start, as I usually do, with defensive metrics. Now, of course, as a fullback, pretty important that you are quite good at defending really, isn't it? So I want to look at some of those. And the problem is with defensive metrics sometimes is that if you concentrate too much on volume, it can kind of be deceiving. For example, if you play in a side that has to defend a lot, your defensive numbers are naturally going to be higher, going to make more tackles than a defender who's in a team that dominates possession and is generally spending most of the game creating chances. So I think often the best measure when you're looking at these defensive metrics is, if you are involved in a tackle, if you are involved in a challenge, how often do you win it? How frequently do you come out on top in those scenarios? And so you have a look at these with Andy Robertson and Kerkez and do that comparison. You have to say Kerkez definitely doing very well in this regard so far this season. I mean, you look at the challenges there, he's winning 59% to Andy Robertson's 48%. You look at the tackle percentage, he's winning almost 51% there to Andy Robertson's almost 40%. And aerial duels, again, more successful than Robertson in those, 35% to 16.7%. So on those defensive metrics, really kind of standing out, really looking like a very, very solid fullback who's hard to beat, which, as a basis, with when you think of all the things that Andy Robertson does, as a basis, he has always been very solid defensive, generally speaking. So that's a real tick in the box, I think, for Kerkez to be putting up those numbers at such a young age. But of course, Liverpool are a team that are dominant in possession. They want a lot more from you than just being a solid fullback. You look at, say, Aaron Wan-Bissaka's struggles at Manchester United when he was asked to be so influential in possession. Not something he'd done a lot at Crystal Palace, and he really struggled in that regard. So it is massively important. Now, again, when you're looking at these statistics, it's hard sometimes to kind of cut the noise out because you're judging players who are functioning in very different teams. So Liverpool, on average so far in the Premier League this season, have had 57.2% possession. That puts them third in the Premier League, the third highest. Bournemouth, meanwhile, 44.3% possession they're averaging, which is the 17th highest in the division. So they are a little bit less bothered about having the ball, and that, of course, will influence how the fullbacks play and how involved they are in possession. You can maybe that's having an influence on this graphic I'm going to throw up for you now, actually, which shows that kind of in terms of involvement, Kerkez is quite low down on that against other fullbacks in the division. As I say, Bournemouth 17 for possession overall, so Kerkez, you can see he's having less influential involvement in possession for Bournemouth than you would see with Andy Robertson. When I show you on this graphic, you can see Andy Robertson much more highly involved compared to other fullbacks in the Premier League. So he's really, really used to being on the ball a lot. That's something that Liverpool ask of him a lot. And I think the key question is here, of course, as I say, there's a difference there that is kind of underlined by the fact that these two teams have different approaches. But what Liverpool have got to judge, and what Richard Hughes has got to judge, is, okay, if you put Kerkez in a team where he has more of possession, how is he going to react? Is he going to be able to do that? Is he going to be able to be as comfortable as Robertson is in those positions and seeing the ball so many times in a match? And I think it's hard to kind of judge that, as I say, because we don't see him doing it at Bournemouth. There's a couple of statistics that maybe will hint towards how he would do in that situation, and a couple I've got here. So the amount of missed controls of passes he takes on over the 90 minutes, and Kerkez is averaging 1.49 per 90 minutes so far this season, whereas Andy Robertson is 0.71, so much lower than that, much less likely to miscontrol the ball, Robertson. And passing accuracy as well. Milos Kerkez, 78% passing accuracy, while Robertson is quite a bit higher there with 83% possession. So that to me suggests that Robertson is more comfortable on the ball, more able in possession. You can see that in the statistics. Whether Kerkez can make that jump if he comes to a team that gives him the ball more, we don't quite know. That's what Richard Hughes, as I say, is going to have to judge. But I do think those statistics are interesting. And of course, the other side of Andy Robertson's game that he's excelled at for so many years is in attack, providing so many assists, getting forward, being a real threat for Liverpool in and around the box. That's what Liverpool need from their left fullback. And again, you have to cut out the noise a little bit here. Obviously, a fullback in the Liverpool team is generally going to score more, going to assist more, because he's in a team that scores more and gets into forward positions more and gives you opportunities to assist more. So I do think that's something you've got to be careful at when you're looking at just pure attacking numbers in terms of goals and assists or anything like that. So maybe you have to go a little bit deeper, I think, to kind of judge how Kerkez stacks up against Robertson here. And I do think expected threat is quite a good measure in this regard. Now, this kind of gives you a mark for how frequently you move the ball into more dangerous areas of the pitch. So you can either do that through passing it into the number 10 position, for example, or you can carrying it into that wide position where you can get a cross in. So you get kind of marks for this. And if I show you where the two fullbacks rank in terms of this, you can see Robertson there. He's up in 8th position for all Premier League fullbacks there, so shows he adds real threat with his passing, real threat with his carrying. You see who's around him. Someone like Trent is right up there in 2nd place, so we know how good he is as a fullback in terms of creating that threat. And as I say, Robertson being in 8th position there shows he's still, even though people are saying he's had a bit of a drop-off this season, he's still ranked up there as 8th for generating expected threat, which I still think shows you he's got quite a lot. Now, Milos Kerkez, we compare that, and he's down in 32nd in that regard. So clearly, the passing and the carries that he is he doing during the game, they aren't generating as much expected threat for Bournemouth as a team. And you could say for this one again, is that just team effects? Is Andy Robertson helped by the fact he plays with better forwards? Is it helped by the fact that he's in a team that would generally attack more? But I think you can see from some of the other names who are in the top end of that list, in terms of Sugawara, who's at Southampton, is up in 10th. Ashley Young is in 5th, and he plays for Everton, who, you wouldn't say they're very much of an attacking team under Sean Dyche. They're very much about keeping it solid, aren't they? So the fact that Ashley Young can rank so highly for expected threat shows that it's not necessarily about team effects, and you can excel in that regard, even if you're in a side that doesn't attack as much. So the fact that Kerkez ranks so lowly on that, I think maybe shows you that he doesn't offer anywhere near as much as Andy Robertson at this moment in terms of his ability to impact games going forward. And as I say, that is something that Liverpool definitely need from their fullbacks, isn't it? Robertson's been up and down that flank, defensively solid, but also absolutely brilliant in the attacks. He's got to be almost perfect, really. And I don't think Kerkez is quite, at this moment in time, showing enough in the attacking regard for Liverpool to absolutely be all over him. And I guess, in summary, really, we can see that Kerkez is he is that defensively strong fullback, and he can maybe he can be stronger in attack, and he has got time to work on that, because let's not forget, he is only 21 years old, and potential is there to be delivered on. But the one thing I would say that we maybe puts a downer on the possibility of him signing, or even maybe being a target, is that you look at Robertson when he signed, all of his upside was in attack. That's what the special quality that he had that Liverpool picked out, was that he was phenomenal in attack. And I guess most coaches, and Klopp approached it in the same way, will feel that we can coach the defending aspect, we can teach that, whereas the attacking aspects and the ability to control the ball in tight areas, to put crosses in, to create expected threat, those are more natural skills that you would already possess, and not necessarily something you could coach as you could defensive positioning or tackling. So the fact that Kerkez is kind of the other way around, and his strengths are clearly defending rather than attacking at the moment, it just puts a little question mark over it for me. And another aspect I want to mention as well, when you compare the Robertson signing, is look, he signed for £8 million from Hull City. Unbelievable value signing. Kostas Tsimikas, the backup there, signed for £12 million. Now, the figures that are being bandied around Milos Kerkez at the moment is 40 million, and I think that seems extremely expensive for someone who would need a lot of coaching in attack. You might not even be able to tease that out of him. At the moment he looks at a very defensively strong fullback, but not showing quite enough on the going forward side of things for maybe Liverpool, who look for value in the market, to say, yeah, 40 million, that's what we want to spend to bring him in. I think you're going to have to see a lot more development between now and the end of the season from him in that attacking element for Liverpool to go anywhere near that sum to sign him in the summer. That's my belief on this one. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Do let me know what your thoughts on Milos Kerkez. Of course, it is about statistics sometimes, but the eye test, do you think he would be a good signing? I have been impressed by him whenever I've seen him play, to be honest. So I was kind of surprised by some of his statistics here, but they don't lie. The numbers are there to be used alongside the eye test. So do let me know what you think about him as a player, and whether he'll be a good signing. And of course, if you've enjoyed this analysis, please do like and subscribe to the video. And I will also say, you can massively help me out if you head over to my Substack and subscribe there as well. It's only £5 a month, and it allows me to keep doing stuff like this, keep doing this kind of work, keep being a journalist who covers Liverpool, because the jobs are dwindling, unfortunately, around that. So if you do subscribe to my Substack, it really does help me out. And as I say, there's more analysis like this. You get transfer news, all sorts of insight, telling you what's going on behind the scenes, podcasts, interviews, just everything you might want in terms of coverage of Liverpool. So please, if you can go and check that out, I would massively appreciate it. It's at davidlynchlfc.co.uk. So I'm going to leave it there and say thanks very much for watching. Of course, the matches are going to come thick and fast soon, aren't they? We're going to be back after the international break, straight into Southampton, Real Madrid, Manchester City. Big games and big events coming up. So I'll see you guys very soon.